Well, Ken, that's amazing. You know, I've been very fortunate to meet Fred, Ken, and the rest of the people that have become part of the Ocean Avenue family. They're amazing human beings. And it's the intention of these two people, Fred and Ken, who approached me in the initial stages, the intention to serve humanity and had the same vision as I had, and that was to deliver my mission, to give people the tools to change their lives. And yes, this is my first time in Vietnam, and I've met some amazing people, and I will be coming back time and time again. This is an amazing place, and I'm very grateful and very honored that you've come to see us today. Before I talk about the products, I'd like to share a little bit more about my story and the roots in which these products are born. The study of nutrition started for me when I was as young as 14 years of age. I was a soccer player, a very small stature, trying to keep up with the bigger boys in the field. But I started to study nutrition and weightlifting to see what I could do to build my body so that I could keep up and be as strong as some of the bigger kids. And in those initial days, I started to gain weight and see results that were really inspiring. And my interest slowly evolved from soccer to bodybuilding as I started to build muscle and see the potential of being able to compete on the stage as a bodybuilder. When I graduated from high school, that interest was still deep and the fire burned hard. So I engaged in the University of British Columbia and majored in the study of biochemistry and nutritional science. But I'm not your average person. I'm very obsessive. And when I get a goal or an idea in mind, I go like a lion after that goal. And soon the studies of biochemistry and nutritional chemistry were my regular curriculum. I had my sideline laboratory where I would do my own work, my own blood work, to determine how I could change these molecules so that they could work better in the body. See, at the university, I began to learn about nutrient-gene interactions, nutrigenomics. And this is the study of how various nutrients work beyond just building blocks, but how they communicate with your genes. And there's a sort of consciousness there that allows the body to work like a computer does with the software with your nutrition. And we found substances, for example, as simple as minerals, some minerals, that in high concentration, when I attach them to other carriers, like an amino acid, they could enter to affect the genes and turn some genes on or off so that your body would either turn off disease genes or turn on genes that help to restore and regenerate tissue. And the interesting thing is that, you know, many of us here are born with various genetic vulnerabilities and various genetic potentials that are amazing. But it doesn't mean if you have a genetic vulnerability, say, to cancer or to arthritis, that your body will create arthritis. You need triggers and environmental factors that will cause those things to become active. So my initial inspiration was to actually create genetic activity that could build muscle for performance in the gym. So I would work in the laboratory to do my research, but I would also work in the gym to build my body for competition. And we would use various rat studies to see how we could make rats perform better in swimming tests using extracts of various substances. And I would use them to see how they would create performance in me in the gym. And my goal was to create an anti-inflammatory effect that would allow me to work hard in the gym but feel no pain the next day. And you see, this inflammation that's caused by work, all of you have felt it. You know, if you're working in the backyard, lifting heavy items, the next day it's sore. The faster it recovers, the sooner the athlete can go back to work out and be ahead of the athlete that's still sore from the same workout. You know, and sometimes amazing things, you know, they happen so slowly that you don't realize that they're happening. I was building muscle and strength where at one time, and I never realized it, I was lifting 735 pounds on my back when squats, doing like this. And my friends and people who were working out in the gym would see what was happening. And they couldn't keep up to me. They could work out with me one day and they'd be sore and sick for a week because nobody could keep up with that intensity. And you see, this was a very technical process because I would work out and then take this substance, and then I would go to the laboratory the next day to take blood work and check the blood for inflammatory hormones called cytokines. And eventually, over time, I started to find the pieces of the different herbs, the fractions, the chemicals that had the highest concentration of activity to help suppress this inflammation. And then eventually, I had 12 human subjects who volunteered when they saw what was happening in the gym, and they started doing the blood work with me so that I could repeat the work with 12 human subjects. And I was this little guy, and suddenly I'm lifting weights that were Olympic lifts that were basically beating the records that were Olympic world title holders held. But I didn't know. I was naive. And then I started to win Mr. British Columbia, Mr. Vancouver, Mr. Western Canada. And I was still naive. I just thought it was no big deal. And you see, I was working with two theories. They were my ideas that I thought would be the best ideas biologically to help me recover from the physical work. But today, we see those same things working to help people recover from disease. And you know, in my family, we have this genetic vulnerability for gastrointestinal disease, ulcerative colitis. But I was young and I wasn't worried about diseases. I just was building muscle, I was competing, I was working with my ego to just be the best performance athlete possible. But every once in a while, I did have a gastrointestinal problem that would last a week or two, and I would just say, oh, it's the flu. And one year, 1991, after I had won the national contest and it was Mr. Canada, I started to prepare for Mr. North America, which would qualify me for professional status. And at that time, I didn't let those 12 subjects use the products anymore because they started competing against me in those contests. And so I began preparing further in the laboratory and in the gym. And then I ran out of the ingredient that I was extracting the anti-inflammatory from. And the supplier that was supplying my laboratory had run out and there was a global shortage. So I just continued to work out towards the contest now without my special substance that I could extract the anti-inflammatory extract from. And it wasn't long before that gastrointestinal distress got worse and worse without any substance that was challenging the disease. And my large intestine started to bleed, and I ended up in the hospital anemic for 9 weeks. And after 9 weeks, the medical professionals had diagnosed, after taking biopsies of the intestinal tract, had diagnosed me with autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis. And at that point, you know, life the way I knew it was finished. No more bodybuilding, no more life the way I knew it. They wanted to remove my large intestine with surgery. But when I looked back at many of my reports from the laboratory and from my work in the gym, I realized there was a pattern. There was a pattern there. Every time I would stop using the anti-inflammatory, I would have this problem that would come and then slowly go away when I started the anti-inflammatory substance again. So I realized that there was a pretty good chance that the substance I was using to enhance performance in the gym was also keeping this disease at bay and silent. So I took a chance and I left the hospital. I had my family literally walk me out, one on each side because I couldn't walk. I'd lost 50 pounds. I was very weak. And I went out to find the raw material so that I could extract this isolate product that I was using. And it wasn't long. Within 2 or 3 days of using it, I felt better. Within 2 weeks, no more blood. Within about 3 months, I started gaining my strength back. And I thought, you know, this can't be. So I'd stop using it and it would come back. And then I'd start it again and it would go away. So I'm a very stubborn person. I finally stayed on the product to get better. And stubborn, I mean, I had a goal that I had not finished. And that goal was to finish Mr. North America. So using what I had learned, I brought myself back to health, back to fitness. And 1 year later, I won Mr. North America. Thank you. And at that time then, I was able to go professional. And in the magazines, they had all this write-up. Oh, a gentleman from Canada came from nowhere and won unanimously. For me, I was naive. I still didn't realize I won unanimously. And I was the best in that field. But for me, it was more important to pursue an understanding of what now I had as a therapeutic product and go back to the laboratory to see what I could do for humanity to bring this to the world instead of pursuing a bodybuilding career that was professional. And the more we did research with the rats, unfortunately, and with other people who wanted to volunteer their own bodies because they had disease, the more I realized I wasn't the only one. We had people who had lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, and other diseases that we were helping while they volunteered to help us find out how this product worked. We saw rats that were diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis completely resolve the disease using the product. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Empower, because Empower is really the flagship product that was the focus of my studies. Empower is not regular curcumin. Curcumin is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, but it's very limited in its raw form. The curcumin raw herb has many adaptogenic benefits, helping you balance your metabolism so the body has the tools that it can use to restore health. But any professional who knows about curcumin can tell you that the absorption potential by the body is very poor. It's hard to get enough of a high enough concentration in the body to deliver an anti-inflammatory result. Now earlier today, I showed the molecular structure of the curcumin and what I actually did to change the body's ability to absorb it very easily. I'll tell you in a summarized way what I did. I would extract the actual component, the piece in the curcumin that has the anti-inflammatory activity, so I had it in its pure form. And now this compound has electrical charges on it that act like a magnet. And this magnet picks up other molecules so that it makes a big, clumsy molecule. In our patent pending Empower, what I've done is neutralize the charge so it no longer acts like a magnet. And now this smaller molecule that's naked and doesn't have the extra molecules on it is tiny and can enter through the mucosal wall of the gastrointestinal tract into the cells very efficiently. You'll notice in Empower has 3 ingredients. One is the naked molecule that enters very fast to the genetic level. And then the second ingredient is the broad curcuminoids that act to balance the body. But without that naked ingredient that we know is concentrated, it's very difficult to get a potent anti-inflammatory activity that helps people resolve these medical conditions. Now, I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to hopefully run through this more quickly with some exciting news. But the exciting news is that research is showing almost every disease today, even aging, even just plain aging, is advanced by inflammation in the body. Now, inflammation is important for balance and recovery and regeneration of tissue, but the challenge we have is that the research is showing that as you age, the control of that inflammatory response declines. Many diseases that we attribute to just old age, even osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, or loss of memory, diabetes, and even extra fat that you might carry around your waist, all these things are now being shown to be advanced by this subclinical inflammation that increases with age. You know, I'm going to be 47 years old in June, and there are very few 20-year-olds that I think can keep up to me in the gym today. And a lot of it has to do with my ability to help regulate this inflammation that increases with age. Because I'm not sore the next day after work. My brain is not being affected by this fog of inflammation. So my brain works like a 20-year-old's brain. This foundation that we see here, and Way Beyond and Empower, they work in 2 different ways to rejuvenate our cells. Way Beyond helps to build glutathione, an antioxidant in our cells that preserves the cells. And Empower works at the genetic level to help regulate inflammation so that it's not increasing as you age. You know, I heard a report from the Mayo Clinic. This clinic is one of the most world-renowned clinics that comes out of North America. And they've said, you know, we treat cardiovascular disease like hypercholesterolemia, high cholesterol, hypertension, high blood pressure. We treat them all with different drugs when if we treat the root cause, being this elevated inflammation, even high blood pressure drops to normal levels. Even diabetes is now recognized as a factor that's caused by this inflammation. Yet, we know that as we age, there's a higher vulnerability to this type 2 diabetes. But if we get rid of the inflammation, all these things start to ameliorate and get better. Our research shows that when you use Empower every day, it serves like an antiviral and antibacterial substance because it causes your mucosal membranes and your tear ducts to produce antimicrobial antiviral proteins. Now, here's an interesting thing. We know that viruses are mutating by the week. H1N1, all these viruses, avian flu, that are changing so that our drugs and our vaccines aren't working anymore. Tuberculosis has finally reached a point that it's resistant to our drugs. Our drugs that treat tuberculosis are no longer effective. In Italy, Iran, and in India, they've received this resistant strain already. And using Empower with Way Beyond helps protect you at first contact from many of these viruses and bacteria. How many people here take calcium to preserve their bones? The latest research is now showing that the extra calcium you take as supplement increases the risk for blood clotting, and I'll tell you why. Because as you age, again, that inflammation changes how your bones work. We have special cells on our bones that take calcium away so that our cells in the body can use calcium, and then other cells that bring calcium back to build bone. But inflammation, as it increases with age, changes the balance of how those cells work and causes too much calcium to leave the bones. So it doesn't matter how much you take here. When you take it for supplementation, you just add to the blood supply and not the bone supply. So you can see, this is not about Empower being a miracle for reducing blood clotting. It's not about reducing osteoporosis. It's not a miracle for all these different things. All it's doing is blocking the inflammatory cascade in the body from creating premature aging. And most people feel the results within 1 or 2 days. They feel less stiff, more limber. They recover faster from day-to-day work. Their mind is clearer. You feel like you're 20 years younger within 1 week. Invigorate is another substance that people use for weight loss, but it's more than just weight loss. I created Invigorate as a life management product. What it's designed to do is improve serotonin efficiency so that your mind is stronger, you have better will, you have a stronger, sharper mind. Invigorate also helps the thyroid gland work optimally so that the metabolism works better. Your body burns fat efficiently. You have better energy throughout the day. You last longer till the end of the day. Invigorate blocks the bad effects of cortisol. Cortisol is the hormone your body secretes when there's too much stress in your life. Leptin, for example, is a special hormone that your fat cells manufacture. The more fat you have, the more leptin your fat produces. And that leptin is supposed to signal to your brain that you don't need any more food. And it's supposed to signal to your brain, turn on the fat-burning furnaces so that your body can stay fit. But there's two things that interfere with leptin's signal. That's inflammation and cortisol. And the Invigorate helps to block cortisol's bad effects on leptin, while Empower blocks the inflammation so that your body functions naturally and healthy. And then I created Way Smart as an accompaniment to Invigorate to help people complete their daily nutritional intake. Way Smart can be used in the morning for breakfast or throughout the day as a supplement. Using Way Smart daily helps control blood sugar, energy throughout the day, helps the body recover hormones and immune system, and it's great for children to supply them with the basic nutrients they need for development. So both Way Beyond and Way Smart can be used either by athletes to support recovery and rebuild muscle, but by average people to help build the immune system. You see, these products are versatile for everybody in the family, from children to older people, to people with goals as athletes, to the average person just needing more nutrition to cope with life. You know, Focus is a great product for energy. I use it especially when I'm traveling, but it's not something for children. It's something that has B vitamins to help with energy, caffeine, and theanine. I was just checking my pockets because I have one in my pocket all the time as backup energy. But the nice thing about this Focus that's different than most caffeinated energy drinks is that the theanine helps to balance the caffeine. So you get caffeine that lifts the brain and the energy, but theanine calms the brain so that you have calm energy, like Ken. See how calm he is as he's walking down the path? These products work so powerfully that, you know, athletes can get great results from them, but you also have people using them just for weight loss. This lady in the last contest, she lost 80 pounds in 60 days. How many kg? 80 pounds, about 35 kg. So you can see there's versatility in the program you have today. You have an opportunity to create a financial change, a financial difference in your lives, but at the same time supplying people with the tools to change their health and to improve their potential in life long term. The research that you are utilizing in these products are cutting edge. For example, this book has 650 scientific studies and is a best-selling book in North America that I actually launched in 2000. And still today, it's cutting-edge new nutrition. Some of the research that I've done has been cited by other professionals around the world on PubMed Central in the scientific database. And we are continuing to do the work at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of British Columbia, where my objective now is to use a neutral environment instead of my own laboratory, so that we can repeat the studies and submit them to the American Journal of Medicine and other medical journals, so that you folks will have independent reviews and peer review to help you validate what you have in your hands. In addition to these products, we have 17 other researched and developed products ready to go. We don't want to throw them all out there to confuse everybody, but one at a time, you will have products to add to this program to build your business through additional products. Including, we just finished a nutritional bar that serves as a meal replacement that can be used for weight gain, for weight management, or just a meal on the run. There's just one problem with it that we're trying to fix, and that is that it tastes so darn good, you can't stop at one. And Ken's having this problem. He's eating 2 or 3 at a time when he's supposed to be eating 1. But we have that available, and that will be soon ready for your market in September. We're going to go, right, Ken? You'll notice that our powders, all the products, there's a lot of detail, attention to detail that I've given to make sure there are no artificial chemicals, all natural sweeteners, all natural flavors, and no added sugars. Because I want to feed them also, the powders, to my children that need them for development without having to worry about artificial chemicals interfering with their delicate bodies. I'd like to say one more thing. This experience in the MLM environment and in these Asian countries has been just amazing. I'm honored, so honored that you folks have, without knowing who this human being is, taken on my mission, passed on my story, and helped deliver the tools to people that I've created to help change their lives. I'm grateful, I am honored, and will be indebted to you to supply you and serve you with what you need to build your businesses. Thank you.